Hi guys, and welcome to episode 7. Just firstly going to start off just looking at a couple of the JPY pairs. Now, anybody that's sort of been following my analysis over the last couple of weeks would know that I've been trying to sort of tackle this GJ trade. GJ is one of my favorite pairs to trade. Like, really, if you get on the right side of it, its hourly moves and ranges, like, it flies, and you don't have to expose yourself with too big a positions and that to actually sort of make a sort of decent return, just with the sort of volatility and the speed in which the pair moves. But yeah, look, I was sort of like, I've taken bits and pieces along the way, but really the whole sort of thing, I've just been waiting for positions, waiting for entries. I've either missed them or I've been distracted looking at other pairs, or for whatever reason I've pretty much made a turkey of this one, but that's okay. I mean, the thing is, with this market, the moves, they come and they go. They're not going anywhere. Obviously, we've been seeing some really nice trending moves in that across a lot of the pairs in that over the last couple of weeks. So it would have been nice to really sort of just jump on a couple of these and just let them go, particularly after this sort of price action that we've seen along for really sort of the bulk of the year. Has just been this sort of mundane sort of, I've got a bit of a range coming here, but it's just been coming back, and it's just more or less just been ranging in that, where you've just seen this really nice solid look start of October through 3/4 of October. That's just one straight solid direction. I mean, you get long, and if the borders are open, you take a holiday, you go away and then you come back, and how much have we moved here? I mean, from base to tip, you're looking, look, there's 900 points in, what's that, sort of 3 weeks. I mean, that's, they don't come every often, too often than that, with the strength like this. But when I started doing these analysis videos, we were up around this top point here, and we were looking, and we were saying, look, it's starting to weaken a little bit. As you can see, we were looking for this sort of bit of a sort of head and shoulders pattern forming up the top here, and I think sort of actually may have been one, or maybe the first video that I did. I was just saying, look, here we are, we're breaking down, we're going to do this. Got this back test here, which, as if you watch my videos, I like the break and retest entries, and we got short on it around here, and then whoop, just came right up, and it didn't just come up. I mean, it really made a big move and really came through these previous highs and clipped all the people that were just sort of like, no. And I think I remember at the time, because that move just in this little retracement here, if I remember correctly, I think it just moved over the 78%, yeah, as you see, just here. So, I mean, I tried to hold on a little bit through here, but I got taken to town through this move here. And so then, obviously got a little bit gun shy on it, and sort of looked at other directions and other pairs, but not to worry, that's the name of the game. Win some, you lose some. But I was saying in those videos that sort of then, okay, I did ultimately want to try and get long on it, and where I was trying to get long on it was down in this zone here. And I also sort of pointed out that, a possible entry, wasn't for me, but a possible entry was the previous highs, which obviously we've got marked up here as well. So we've seen this one, it's clipped those previous highs. Normally I expect it to overshoot these things a little bit, but you can see that pretty much held it almost to the penny, and that's where it really started to take off. And respected it a couple of times, and obviously when it broke down, came down, and anyway, that's the story of it. But I mean, that's on the 4-hour candle at the moment, and as you see, we've seen a pretty decent sort of retracement so far. So here we go, the fib set up on the higher time frame of this whole large extended move. We're coming down around the 61, and that's my sort of golden entry down here, so that's why it's in a nice little gold color. But really, I mean, this is quite a sharp sort of sell-off in the second part of the week for the JPY pairs, and really it's not alone. It's not only the GJ pairs. Ultimately, GBP had the BOE rate announcement this week, which is what this large sort of sell down here is. Like, this whole section here, that was just the market just punishing GBP for basically not raising rates. Like, that's what they said. They said the market was fully priced for a 15 basis point raise, so we're banking on that. That's what's going to happen. It doesn't happen. Well, you know what happens then? GBP cops a hit for it. Like that's how it works. It was priced in for that to sort of be there, and really, if it was already priced for that, it probably would have. I mean, that's what is this move coming up here. And probably actually sort of the bulk of all this move over here is actually the market pricing it in. But then because it didn't bang and it just fell apart. And I mean, that really sort of, you can see that across a couple of the other charts as well. Cable got destroyed, obviously. But like the DXY, sort of GBP making up a large part of the DXY as well. That really sort of took a bit of a beating with it as well. So, yeah, we really saw this nice sort of sell-off here. So well done anybody that caught that and sort of got on the shorts there. I was just like a deer in headlights and that. Actually looking at a couple of other bits and pieces. But yeah, it was really quite interesting to sort of see. So yeah, I feel personally we're probably starting to hit maybe a little bit of a sort of turning point. I would expect to see some sort of bounce around this zone. But really, if you look at on the daily, that doesn't look like it's stopping necessarily quite yet. Like certainly the range tightened up compared to this large candle coming down here, but I wouldn't be surprised. To me, that's not a bottom. That's not a bottoming pattern. You might need to put another candle in there. We do have a sort of oversold, RSI that obviously is attempted to try and turn up, but, obviously hasn't done yet. So I wouldn't say that this is quite done yet. So I think if we want to get long, we could probably almost see another 100-point move to the downside at least. If not, come right down here, because this 78.6 line obviously also lines up with this final breakout point of this falling resistance. So price has broken out. It's obviously done its first back test, but then it's exploded up, gone along. I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of go down and they go, look, I'm just going to wipe everybody that's been long in this whole sort of point here. And we're just going to unwind this entire move, and then we start to look long and then sort of start to move on there again. But yeah, certainly I would expect to still see some downside in this pair coming through this week. And moving on, we've got AJ, and I mean the same sort of thing. You see this sell down here. Again, if you guys follow me on Twitter, you'll see most of the trades I sort of take in that I'll sort of post up on there, midweek analysis, just my thoughts on these things as well. But was trading a long position from down here with AJ and sort of captured a nice part of this move, and then really sort of I wasn't in it so much through this choppy range here, but I mean even the sort of the distance that we took over here just pales in comparison to this move to the downside here. So it was really quite an interesting week in terms of the news front, because you had the RBA, which obviously affected the AUD pairs, which again is another reason that you get these massive sort of sell downs. I can't remember where exactly, maybe that was the second here. I think, yeah, that was probably on the Tuesday cup day. You got the break of this channel, you got the technical break to the downside, based on the fact that RBA just keep beating that 2024 drum, saying we're not going to do anything. I don't know if they're trying to prove some sort of point that they're a sort of different central bank to the rest of the world, but I mean, just house around the corner from me, 2.2, and it's not really much, and you can't say that that's not a problem. But anyway, they're not doing anything. Like they've said a couple of times, Lowe said the last couple of press conferences, he's not going to do anything in their sort of within their means with their tools. So basically, sort of between the lines, saying they're not going to consider raising rates till 2024. So whether that actually goes till then, that's another thing to be seen in that. But certainly every time you hear that, it reiterates that they're not going to sort of do anything to strengthen or help the strength of the Aussie dollar. They're happy to have it a little bit weaker for the time being. So yeah, that's what you're seeing, these big sort of sell downs with the AUD. And then of course you had a couple of the other big bits of news. We had the BOE, ADP's a bit nothingness kind of thing, and then of course the NFP on the Friday, which I spoke about in the gold video in episode 6, that had a big sort of reversal into the end of the week. So yeah, certainly not looking too good for AJ. I mean, that's on the 1 hour. So I mean, if we sort of flip this back here, you can start to maybe vaguely see some sort of downward channel, but really it's these sell downs are just horrible and unrelenting. And they, at the moment, I mean, you're getting a couple of wicks here, but this last close, was obviously lower than it had been for quite some time. So again, going the same with the GBP pairs, sorry, GJ, but with the JPY pairs, I don't think they're done. I still expect to see some JPY strength coming through early week. So we've got this other zone marked out here. So if we zoom back out on the daily, so this is the 38 of this large move for the Aussie that we've seen to the upside here. I mean, Aussie has just been really on a rip for the last sort of 2 months, so it's only natural that it's going to have a pullback. And the thing is as well, I mean, if you look at the size of this move, it hasn't even clipped the 38 yet. So I mean, realistically, you can still get a move to the 50. You can get a move to the 61.8, the golden one. This is the one that we like for our entries because of much lower risk, and still have it as a healthy move to sort of continue on forward. So yeah, I'm not too keen for looking for buys for this as of yet. To me, that daily candle closing down pretty much in line with the previous wick down there, I would still say there's some JPY strength definitely here. So we'll be looking for the downside on AJ coming through this week as well. And finally, you've got the USD JPY. Again, same sort of thing. It's been ripping up. It's starting to show this weekend. It's not dying in one go, but really, I mean, this is on a daily, and so looks a bit scrappy here, as you can sort of see. I've been trying to sort of pick some sort of intraday sort of trends and little channels that it's been sort of playing with, but really this is the bit of a range. It's moved up here in line with all the other JPY pairs that were just so weak for so long, and that's what I was saying in those earlier videos. The strength of these things don't continue forever. They will slow down, they will reverse. Like, you don't want to chase these things after they've been running for 3 weeks straight, because the risk reward up around these zones here just becomes ridiculous. I mean, realistically, just wait for the confirmation of the next leg if you want to do it, which would have been through here, which would have been through here, and then sort of just capture those parts of the moves. But you can't see something run for 3 weeks and then think, hey, now I'm going to sort of go hard and bet the house on it. It just doesn't work like that. Well, not safely anyway. But yeah, we're seeing sort of the same sort of thing. As I said, look, it's still in this consolidation zone. So I mean, look, it hasn't died, it hasn't broken down. I mean, US dollar has definitely had some strength the last week or so, but really, as we said, we saw that NFP print come out. You saw that initial reaction where everyone was like hyped up and they're like, wow, the number's bigger than it was last week. But once the sort of people have a second or two in that to sort of look under the hood on these numbers, they probably start to see that, hold on, wait, it's not all it's cracked up to be. So anyway, we certainly saw JPY punish USD with this big, long, ugly candle to the downside, sort of coming into the end of the week. So look, we're still in the range for the moment. So, I mean, what we can kind of see with a little bit of this price action here is these sort of these highs. Certainly they're coming in a little bit lower each time. So, you can maybe start to look, probably not so much here. Probably these sort of lines here. Sort of look for these things here, but you're certainly seeing these highs coming in a little bit lower. So you've got lower highs, you've got lower lows, you're testing the bottom of this band of this consolidation thing. I would be looking, as I said, same in line with the other JPY pairs, I'd be looking to get short on this if we could break this zone here. I would like to see a push down here. I mean, I'd look across at maybe this wick here, have this sort of drag across, clip up here, and around this zone here. I'd look to get short, and then I'd be selling this one down. Because the thing is, these moves have really, they've gone up for a month straight. So there's a good chance that even if they were to continue going, they need to cool off. They need to sort of take some pressure off it, reload with some fresh buyers, have some people book some profits, and sucker some people in for some shorts, and then go again. And that's the top side moves. So there's no reason, if you're intraday trading, you can capture part of these sort of, reversal moves. So this is what I would be looking for if we wanted to sort of, try and get onto this and try and sell this to the downside. I'd be looking to get in on this band here and then sort of sell it back down. But I mean, the thing is, this is why you wait for the confirmations. And I'm talking about a candle closing down underneath this range to come back up to retest to go back down, not just a quick down and a quick back up. Because what you can do is go down here, hit any potential stops, hit any potential sort of sort of orders that are sitting around these zones, and then you could have this whole sort of thing, instead of sort of coming up here, could just sort of fly straight back up here. and then you could be doing bang bang and just continue along with the range, and then you're either taking your losses, you're holding, you've got your capital held up. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things there. To me personally, the way that I like to trade, wait for the confirmation, sacrifice a few points, but the likelihood, what you get in exchange for that is a higher likelihood that you're going to see a profitable trade, and you're not going to have your capital tied up while you're waiting for this big long swing. So in, out, into profit early, and then just manage the trade as you can from there. When we move on, we have a look at the Aussie dollar. I mean, it's the same story as the rest of these things. It's had its long run. It's tried to hold on to the gains, and yeah, it just broke down kind of thing through the second half of the week. So same sort of thing, AUD pair. It was the thing that really put the nail in the coffin for AUD. I think sort of, where is this? So it's around this candle here. This is when the RBA came out and sort of said, look, we're not doing anything. Rates stayed the same, and we're not going to do anything to 2024. And as you can see, people just sort of ran for the door with the Aussie. There was no real sort of like clean. I mean, you sort of thought that's really just maybe a think about it, but you've come back up here. Maybe you could call this your back test, but it was just choppy. But overwhelmingly selling off. I mean, it's moved up quite. All the Aussie pairs have had a great run last couple of weeks, and what we can really do when we start to analyze this, you can start to look at these zones that we've broken out here. So look, it did go through this previous high over here. It came back, retested, went again, technically did make a new high over here. But the thing is, if you really look at this and you've got the zones that are marked up here, it never really achieved a close above this level. So it's come up here and it's tested it. It's put a couple of little wicks out the top side to see if there's any sort of enthusiasm for buyers to continue here. But each time it sold down. So this was an early indicator that, maybe this was a bit of a sort of short-term top coming back in, and hence back here. And this is why I've got this bit of sort of consolidation box drawn up, and that, of course, a couple of sort of extra swings out either side of it all. But really, it didn't look like it was quite ready to go. And then, obviously, it's already done its back test of those previous highs. So coming down this time here, it just carved through it, and as you see, it just melted down a little bit. But look, I do like the Aussie dollar, but at the moment, it's not looking like the risk pairs are great. It did have a solid close to the week. So if you look at on a daily candle, it's got this nice wick, which came out the bottom side here. So that is a positive. Obviously, that was off that sort of NFP print that we were talking about earlier. If we look at this and we drag up the fibs, you can see, look, it's clipped the 50% retracement. It's this zone here. And if you look back, I think it was almost, as I said earlier, I think it was possibly one of the first episodes that we did on this channel was this green zone here, when we were up in this tight little consolidation box, and we were looking for the long entry on the pullback. We had the short-term head and shoulders, had the pullback here, consolidation. This was, I remember, that was the 23 of that move originally. Came here, clipped it, and just went off. So, Aussie's had a good run. It's just cooling off a little bit. It's clipped the 50. It's pushed up. Look, it was a nice close to the end of the week. Aussie does like head and shoulders, particularly inverted head and shoulders, for its sort of like bottoming reversal pattern. So they're always ones to look out for. So you could have a look at this one here, sort of maybe a little bit like this. But I mean, this isn't really something that I would be confirming quite yet. Particularly seeing, it's overwhelmingly just been so weak. You could almost sort of pull this out, again, sort of like you're drawing on top of all the other ones. But if you sort of pull this across here, you got a bit of a neckline coming up here. You've got your shoulder, you've got your head. You've put in a new high. You just want to see it pop up here. And this grey zone obviously is going to take a little bit of work to get through, because these grey zones are the higher time frame zones that we've got marked up. The pink ones are just sort of the lower sort of time frame. So if you really could get an early start to the week, a push up here, break back here, and then back on its way, if you're looking to get long on this. And look, I would say definitely there are going to be some flare-ups along the way, but ultimately the Aussie dollar is only just determined by the strength of USD. Like, you can have strong Aussie data come out, and you may see some intraday moves, but if you've got something counteracting that coming and affecting the US dollar, it doesn't really matter how strong the Aussie is. It may par some of the losses if we do have something strong and positive at the same time, but it's really just it's one of those things. It's a really risk touchy pair, and it's just at the mercy of what the American dollar is deciding to do at that time. So we saw a strong sort of push off, obviously from the highs of the DXY after the NFP. We got that sort of new yearly high printed, but it got sold down quite quickly. So make that with that as you will, but certainly one to watch. Like, I do like the Aussie. I do think you're going to get some flare ups, but I think the overall narrative that they're not going to do anything till 2024, which I actually don't personally believe, but that is what they're saying. That's what the market's reacting to, and that's what's dictating the sell-offs with these sort of things with the Aussie pairs. Cool, guys, and that is pretty much it just for the week. Just a really late sort of recap this time, guys, so sorry about the sort of briefness of this, but just a couple of options of trades that could be looking for this week. But I think ultimately I'm seeing some JPY strength continuing early week, so obviously a little bit of a sort of risk off mood. As to what the USD is going to do, that's sold down, as I said, pretty heavy from the highs there, so we'll have to sort of see if any of that sort of weakness sort of continues and carries through. That may be the thing that gives a little bit of reprieve on the Aussie dollar and the same sort of similar risk pairs, but I think ultimately any of these sort of push-ups on the Aussie are just giving you opportunities to sell back into. So I'd expect Aussie dollar really maybe sort of to come down and see maybe sort of complete a bit of this overall sort of higher time frame range that we're sort of seeing to play out down here. Lines up if if you get a bit of a flare up over here, so we come up here, I would expect it sort of almost to sort of come down and maybe around here sort of clip this, so sell into these ones here and then sort of come down, retest these low 73s, and that's a nice 61.80 line that we can sort of look to sort of maybe get back long with the Aussie dollar again. But that's it for me this week, guys. Good luck with your trading.